please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and onto our YouTube channel. We record in audio only. I lost my place. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start on page 31, where it says, here are some of the methods, and will end on page 33, immune to alcohol. And our study tonight will start on page 33, that very next sentence, young people may be encouraged, and it will end on page 35, where it says, of what is he thinking? And do we have any announcements? And the only one I have is we will have a group conscience on, let me find the date, Monday, January 12th. Anyone is welcome to attend our group conscience, but only home group members who are registered as being home group members will be eligible for any voting that we do. So,
Okay.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Lisa. Welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing, as not to distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. A friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order hands are raised.
And from the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are focus your breath and posture, breathe in God, breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away. Stop. And ask God to help you focus on the study. So let's bring in those monks.
Oh
join us in the fog light prayer? God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report. Come on in. Jim?
Jim. Good evening, fellow travelers. My name is Jim, and I am your recovered alcoholic secretary. And I've asked my friend Jacqueline to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Jacqueline.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline M., and I'm a recovered alcoholic. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism, recovered but not cured. The presence that presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If you were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergy reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime, but we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of alcoholic center in the mind rather than in the body. Page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Thank you. Consequently, we have recovered. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Appreciate you. And thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for about an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements of sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, their success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapsed. And the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time? Anyone here for the first time?
We've got a bunch. We've got Patrick, we've got Mackenzie, we've got Jacqueline. I'm probably missing a few. Christian, Julia, Allie. Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for being here, everyone. And then the recovered alcoholics. These are your potential sponsors. Hey. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week? Okay. If you should require a Big Book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time is questionable. Please remember to practice our seventh tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat. Our suggestion is to purchase a Big Book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in the chat. Thank you, and see you next week.
Thank you. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 9. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 10. Please refer to page 562 of our book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And come on in, Alyssa.
Thank you, Trish. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. So first I'm going to read Tradition 10 on page 562 and 565 on the short and the long form out of our big book. So it says 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. That is the short form. And then the long form, it says, no AA group or member should ever, in such a way as to implicate AA, express an opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous group oppose no one. Concerning such matters, they can express no views, whatever. And then I'm going to share this to give a visual of what it, because if you go to aa.org, they have the 12 traditions illustrated. I found it. Just to show you, as we don't discuss these things because these are individual views, and if we bring this into Alcoholics Anonymous, it gives an example. It talks about, it shows the pictures. I know I speak for all of AA when I protest the current legislation before Congress. I refer to that infamous piece of rubbish known as House Bill number X7-11-121. And then, of course, the controversy begins. We are here to stay sober and help another alcoholic to achieve sobriety. Our personal opinions on those outside issues have no business here. They don't. That doesn't depend on our AA unity. What keeps us sober are those 12 steps, the 12 principles, and the concepts of service. So I like the visual because it gave how intense people can get if we allow those outside issues to come in. And so that's why it has no place in AA, is because, again, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help another alcoholic to achieve sobriety. So thank you for letting me be your traditionalist this week.
Awesome. And now it's time for our weekly installment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things we often hear is there's no musts in AA. So Billy, can you tell us what it says on page 20, paragraph 2?
Yes. Doubtless, you are curious to discover how and why, in the face of expert opinion to the contrary, we have recovered from a hopeless condition of mind and body.
And I'm sorry, Lisa, I think I misunderstood your question. Our topic for That Ain't in the Book this week is Think Through the Drink, not there are no musts, we're done with our musts.
Whoops.
My apologies. As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we're going to start our recap on page, let me find it. On page 31. And that will be read tonight by Donald. And after that, our study portion tonight will be read by Terry.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back on our study portion that was read by Terry. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you may hear a timer beep to let you know your time is finished.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example with a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
So how we got to this point, we didn't just randomly open the book tonight and say, let's read pages 31 through 35. This is a 96-week study that brings us all the way through the Roman number pages, the pages 1 through 164, and we also read Dr. Bob's Nightmare and the Traditions. This meeting started in Tennessee prior to COVID as an in-person meeting. During COVID, it started on Zoom like so many others, but then we stayed on Zoom. We are a 100% virtual meeting, and we will always be a virtual meeting because we are so widespread. We are East Coast to West Coast United States, plus we've got people, friends from other countries who come and visit us as well. So as we're reading and studying, follow along with your book if you have one, and if not, what we're reading tonight is also put on our website. And please keep coming back, because each time we go through it, I keep finding out more about myself. I find more about myself in the book, and I find more things in the book than I didn't realize were there before.
Absolutely. Before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you would like to be one of our answer readers. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and our YouTube channel.
And thank you, Lisa. Donald, could you come on in with our recap now?
Sure, can. Hey, my name is Donald, and I'm a very grateful recovered... Oh, excuse me. Hi, folks. My name is Santa Pickle, and I'm a very grateful recovered but not cured alcoholic. And this is last week's recap. Here's some of the methods that we've tried. Drinking beer only, limiting the number of drinks, never drinking alone, never drinking in the morning, drinking only at home, never having it in the house, never drinking during business hours, drinking only at parties, switching from scotch to brandy, drinking only natural wines, agreeing to resign if ever drunk on the job, taking a trip, not taking a trip, swearing off forever with or without a solemn oath, taking more physical exercise, reading inspirational books, going to health farms and sanitariums, accepting voluntary commitments to asylums. We could increase the list ad infinitum. We do not like to pronounce any individual as an alcoholic, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. Step over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. Try it more than once. It will not take long for you to decide. if you are honest with yourself about it, it may be worth a bad case of jitters if you get a full knowledge of your condition. Though there is no way of proving it, we believe that early in our drinking careers, most of us could have stopped drinking. But the difficulty is that few alcoholics have enough desire to stop while there is yet time. We have heard of a few instances where people who showed definite signs of alcoholism were able to stop for a long period because of an overpowering desire to do so. Here's one. A man of 30 was doing a great deal of spree drinking. He was very nervous in the morning after these bouts and quieted himself with more liquor. He was ambitious to succeed in business, but saw that he could get nowhere if he drank at all. Once he started, he had no control whatever. He made up his mind that until he had been successful in business and had retired, he would not touch another drop. An exceptional man, he remained bone dry for 25 years and retired at the age of 55 after a successful and happy business career. When he fell victim to a belief that practically every alcoholic has, that his long period of sobriety and self-discipline had qualified him to drink as other men. Out came his carpet slippers and a bottle. In 2 months he was in a hospital, puzzled and humiliated. He tried to regulate his drinking for a while, making several trips to the hospital meantime. Then, gathering all his forces, he attempted to stop altogether and found he could not. Every means of solving his problem, which money could buy, was at his disposal. Every attempt failed. Though a robust man at retirement, he went to pieces quickly and was dead within 4 years. This case contains a powerful lesson. Most of us have believed that if we remain sober for a long enough stretch, we could therefore drink normally. But here's a man who at 55 years old found he was where he had left off at 30. We have seen the truth demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we are in a short time as bad as ever. If we are planning to stop drinking, there must be no reservation of any kind, nor any lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. And Terry, please come on in with our recap. And I did mute you, so you'll need to unmute. There you go.
Okay, young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to think that they could stop, as he did, on their own willpower. We doubt if many of them can do it because none will really want to stop, and hardly one of them, because of the peculiar mental twists already acquired, will find he could win out. Several of our crowd, men of 30 or less, had been drinking only a few years, but they found themselves as helpless as those who had been drinking 20 years. To be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take the quantity some of us have. This is particularly true of women. Potential female alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years. Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholics are astonished at their inability to stop. We who are familiar with the symptoms see large numbers of potential alcoholics among young people everywhere, but try and get them to see it. And a little side note here, true, when this book was first published, that a 2011 U.S.-Canada membership survey showed about 1/13th of AAs were 30 and under. As we look back, we feel we had gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our own willpower. If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for 1 year. If he is a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there is a scant chance of success. In the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remained sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later. Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be a potential alcoholic. We think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry anything like a year. Some will be drunk the day after making their resolutions, most of them within a few weeks. For those who are unable to drink moderately, the question is how to stop altogether. We are assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. Whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. Many of us felt that we had plenty of character. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever. Yet, we found it impossible. This is the baffling feature of alcoholism as we know it. This utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. How then shall we help our readers determine to their own satisfaction whether they are one of us? The experiment of quitting for a period of time will be helpful, but we think we can render an even greater service to alcoholic sufferers and perhaps to the medical fraternity. So we shall describe some of the mental states that precede a relapse into drinking. For obvious, this is the crux of the problem. For obviously. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree, which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy, are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Of what is he thinking?
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Donald, for your service, and everyone else for reading and for participating tonight. And our batting order for the question answers, and I'm actually going to back up just a little bit. Our study tonight is a question and answer format that was written by Joe and Charlie up through chapter 7. And then one of their sponsees, Krusty Cliff, wrote the questions for the remainder of the chapters. And each question is just each sentence in the book reworded into a question, and the answer to each question is every sentence that comes out of the book. So the answers to each of the questions tonight will be that part that Terry just read. So if you have your book and you're following along and you're a little bit confused, that's what we're doing. We're asking the questions by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff. We have the questions, you guys have the answers in your book. So we're going to go back to where Terry started reading on page 33, and our batting order for our question answerers will be Linda, Jacqueline, William, Stephanie, and Jim, and all of you may unmute. And Linda, you get our first question, and that is, are young people inclined to believe as he did when he was 30?
Young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to think that they can stop, as he did, on their own willpower.
Thank you. And Jacqueline, not to be confused with Jacqueline, because we have two of you tonight. Jacqueline, you have a three-part question. A, will many of the young ones be successful in self-imposed sobriety? B, will young folks really want to stop for good and all? And C, why will they be unable to stop even if they want to?
Okay. We doubt if many of them can do it, because none will really want to stop, and hardly one of them, because of the peculiar mental twist already acquired, will find he can win out.
Thank you so much. Perfect. And William, welcome. What did several young men discover?
7 of our crowd, men of 30 or less, have been drinking only a few years, but they found themselves as helpless as those who have been drinking 20 years.
Thank you so much. And Stephanie, a two-part question for you. A, does how long a person drinks have much to do with the helplessness of the disease? And B, does a person have long to drink, or does a person have to drink long and hard to become a hopeless alcoholic?
To be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take the quantity some of us have.
Thank you. And Jim, what can be said for potential female alcoholics? 2 sentences, please.
This is particularly true of women. Potential female alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years.
Thank you so much. And Linda, coming back to you, what are certain drinkers astonished to learn?
Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholics are astonished at their inability to stop.
Thank you. And Jacqueline, what will those of us who are familiar with the symptoms of alcoholism see? And please finish the paragraph.
Okay. We who are familiar with this symptom see large numbers of potential alcoholics among young people everywhere, but try to get them to see it. As we look back,
Hold on, right, stop it and see it.
Yeah, okay, it.
And Lisa, you've got a comment there?
Yes. The footnote reads, true, when this book was first published, but a 1998 U.S.-Canada membership survey showed about 1/5 of AAs were 30 and under.
Thank you. And just a little comment on that. While we have 5 editions of our big book, there are several printings in each edition, and sometimes those footnotes are updated throughout, so the footnotes can have a little bit different information. So what Terry read as she was reading is a little different than the one that Lisa read. Both are accurate as of the time that at that printing of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, William, we are coming to you at the top of page 34. As we look back, what do we believe?
As we look back, we feel we had gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our willpower.
Thank you so much. And Stephanie, what is the second test to learn the truth about alcoholism?
If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for 1 year.
Thank you. And Jim, will the real alcoholic be successful?
If he is a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there is scant chance of success.
Thank you so much. Linda, back to you and a 2-part question. A, can we be successful in the early stages of the disease? And B, what happens to us later on?
In the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remained sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later.
Thank you. And Jacqueline, though a person is able to stop for a period, what may be the case?
Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be a potential alcoholic.
So true. And William, if a person fails the tests, will he probably be interested in the content of this book?
We think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry anything like a year.
Absolutely. And Steph, even though a real alcoholic may decide to quit for a year, how soon will most of them return to drinking?
Some will be drunk the next day after making their resolutions, most of them within a few weeks.
That's for sure. And Jim, if a person can't drink moderately, what is the question?
For those who are unable to drink moderately, the question is how to stop altogether.
So true. Linda, what are we assuming?
We are assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop.
And Jacqueline, what will determine whether or not a person can quit for good and all on a non-spiritual basis?
Whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not.
Thanks so much. And William, what do many of us feel we have?
Many of us felt that we had plenty of character.
That's for sure.
That was
Stop in there. Thank you. And Stephanie, what was our tremendous urge?
There was a tremendous urge to cease forever.
Thank you. And Jim, how successful were we?
Yet we found it impossible.
Thank you. Linda, a two-part question again. A, what is the really baffling feature of chronic alcoholism? And B, are we able to stop drinking no matter how great the necessity or wish?
This is the baffling feature of alcoholism. As we know it, this is utterly inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish.
Absolutely. And Jacqueline, what is the question posed at this point?
How then shall we help our readers determine to their own satisfaction whether they are one of us?
Thank you. And William, a three-part question. A, what will be helpful? And B, do we think we can do better than that in helping readers of this book determine if they are chronic alcoholics?
the experiment of quitting for a period of time will be helpful. But we think we can render an even greater service to our alcoholic suffering and perhaps to the medical fraternity.
Thank you. And Stephanie, you also get a two-part question. A, what will we describe? And B, why describe the mental condition?
The experiment of quitting?
Oh, next one. So we shall.
So we shall describe some of the mental states that precede a relapse into drinking. For obviously this is the crux of the problem.
Thank you. And Jim, what is the question at this point?
What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink?
And I have a comment. Refer to the first paragraph on page 30 for the answer. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death.
Thank you. And our last question, Linda. In what state are the alcoholic's friends and why? and read the rest of the paragraph.
Does it start with what sort?
Friends who have. The next sentence.
Okay. Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree, which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy, are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Of what is he thinking?
Thank you so much. Okay, and if you now have experience with the portion of the book that we've just read, you are free to share. And please be mindful of your time and that others may have their hands raised and are waiting to share. And a friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. We are now open for comment, questions, observations, and spiritual experiences based on what was just read. And hi, come on in, Linda.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm an alcoholic. There was a part that really caught my attention, and I had underlined it and I put something next to it. And it's on page 33, the last paragraph. Certain drinkers who would be generally insulted if called alcoholics are astonished at their inability to stop. And then I wrote something, they get offended about the truth. That's the denial. And this more about alcoholism is talking about the compulsive, obsession and the inability to stop. And I always say this in a beginner's meeting, let John Barleycorn be your best advocate. In other words, go out there and try some more controlled drinking. One lady was like, oh, no, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to tell no one to drink. I said, I'm not telling you to drink. I said, apparently you didn't read the first step, did you? And then she looked at me shocked. I said, yeah, go ahead and see if you can do some more controlled drinking. See if you can drink, put it down, and then don't pick that cup up again. I didn't say drink the whole cup. I just said half of it. And then see and put it there, and then see if you don't grab that cup again and drink it up, drink it down, and then keep asking for more. Then she got the gist of what I was saying, because this is talking about that. And people ask, they're shocked. He's walking into a saloon or a bar or whatever it is, going to the liquor store, whatever scenario. Why does he do it? Because of that peculiar mental twist. With people that are not alcoholic, they don't have something in their brain that's set off. It's like, for me, an alcoholic, it's just something in my brain. People want to talk about, addiction and this and that. You know what? This is a disease, and it's centered in my mind. And it causes me to become mentally ill. And I can recover from that hopeless state of mind. I can. But I'll never recover from this disease of alcoholism. Never. I don't have my drinking under control just because I stopped drinking. See, that's what people think. Oh, you're not drinking, so you have it under control. No, I don't. Because if I pick up a drink again, I'm going to be off to the races. So I don't have it under control. But they just can't get that concept. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Linda. Who is next? More meditation time, or are we getting hands up? Hi, Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie. Very grateful recovering alcoholic. And the one test of me putting the drink down, I didn't have a problem with. So if I used that as a measure of, am I alcoholic? Why, no, I couldn't be, because I haven't drank in 12 years. Well, I must not be an alcoholic. But when I did pick up that drink, that one sip, I immediately went into full force ahead, drinking worse than I drank before. So what does that tell me? It tells me I'm probably an alcoholic. That's all I got.
Thanks, Steph. Shayna, hi.
Hi, I'm delivering snacks. Hang on 1 second. I thought I had a little bit more time. There we go. Shayna, recovered alcoholic. I appreciate this reading. Hang on. Isla, just a moment. I covered up the phone and forgot that I have the earphones in. That's great. Anyway, so Shayna, recovered alcoholic. I appreciate this reading. I'm actually just listening, but I was always baffled by the man of 30 because I think I know that that could be me in a heartbeat. If I got into this thinking, all right, I'm going to get sober, I'm going to do what I need to do, be responsible, build my life, and then, kick off my work boots and put on my slippers. But I know that my disease, it doesn't quit. As far as the drinking, I remember early on, before the program, before Alcoholics Anonymous, before I would accept that I was a true alcoholic of the chronic hopeless variety, chronic alcoholic of the hopeless variety, whatever it is, that I would convince myself that I could stop drinking for periods of time. And I could always be like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to drink this beer or that beer or that liquor. I'd bounce around. But one time that I really fooled myself was when I quit drinking for my entire pregnancy of my first kiddo. And then it was almost 2 years after. And I just remember almost putting on a show for my mom to see that, my first attempt at a glass of wine, whoa, I'm just going to take it easy. But the effect that alcohol has on me is not, I'll just take it and forget about it. I don't know. I don't even know what a normie or somebody that doesn't have mental obsession, the moment I start drinking, that I need to have more, and I need to have more and more and more. And what am I going to do to have more, and how am I going to plan to have more? I mean, that's not the mind of a normal drinker. And I do recall, kind of just recognizing that early on, and I was off to the races. Not where I had stopped, but much further than I had stopped, as if I had not stopped drinking. My tolerance was high. My consumption was high. And then from that moment on, it continued to progress. And things just got worse and worse and worse until I got desperate. Thank God that somebody prayed, somebody cared about me enough to give me an intervention, and thank God for God and giving me the clarity to accept the help, because I could easily be the man of 30 and be dead, because that's very close to where I was at. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Shayna. William, come on in.
Good evening, family. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And definitely, I didn't know when I was out there doing what I was doing. What I'm learning today is by coming here and studying this book and stuff. I remember when I first came to Alcoholics Anonymous, some of the old timers used to say something like this: like, sit there long enough. If you don't know you're alcoholic now, sit there long enough, one may show up. And so true. It did show up, you know what I mean? Because I really didn't know the characteristics of alcoholic. And they talk about that mental twist that in the mind of an alcoholic, and definitely, I understand that today, And not only is it with alcohol, it's with a whole lot of other things too. And then it went on to talk about that part that eludes is what do you think dominates an alcoholic who repeat time after time that desperate experience of that first drink. I'm just gonna have one. And if I have the one, I'm gonna have two more, and that's it. That's it. I'm saying. And then the other part down there was really it's sad that it talks about the insanity of alcoholism. Now we who knows a little bit about alcohol, I can't call you an alcoholic, because it's something that you have to within your innermost self find out and accept. But I know the characteristic of one. So, and it talks about that part down in one of his what was wrong, his thinking and stuff like that. But back in the book, it was talking about where it leads you to suffer long before you die. You know what I mean? And that's what was wrong. If I could have died, I think I'd have been okay. But the suffering, that's the hardest part for me. And I would stop drinking. I stopped for a little while. I said I made a lot of resolution. Made a lot of resolution that I wasn't going to drink again. But once I picked up the first one, I was off to the races. And today I know it's the first drink that gets me drunk. I truly believe that. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of other things, that I do, eating, I know these characteristics with the mental twist that I takes me there, So I'm grateful to be educated on this disease, and it's a place, a solution where I can come, and a spiritual remedy that I can use, And not only with alcoholism, I can use with other areas of my life too. So I'm happy to be here. Good seeing everybody.
Thank you, William. Glad you're here. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hello, hello again. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the read tonight. And so much jumped out, especially the beginning, because when I got here to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was young. It says young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to think that they can stop as he did on their own willpower. And I know when I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous the first time, I thought I could stop with on my own willpower. And little did I know that this was a progressive illness, and I had a mental obsession. I had developed a mental obsession when it came to alcohol, and even when I wanted to stop, there was times that I could stop, but I couldn't stay stopped. I stopped a few times. Especially when before giving birth to my kids, I would stop, but I didn't know that mental twist had me. I had no idea until I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And then it says here, some will be drunk the day after making their resolution. Most of them within a week. I can remember, New Year's Eve, just like it was yesterday. And my New Year's resolution was New Year's Day, I wasn't going to drink. And mind you, that was New Year's Eve, but New Year's, when New Year's came in, I had a drink in my hand and I drank it. And what this mind told me, well, I took a drink New Year's Day, which was midnight. I might as well stop January the 2nd. And this was a vicious cycle, and I had right here, it says he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. I lost that power long time ago. Had good intentions, would especially a Friday, go to work, and my intention was to come straight home and not to stop to drink. But that mental obsession, and it says somewhere in our literature, was the it was a guiding force of my life, all reasoning just was shut out. I forgot about picking up the son. I forgot about going home. All of that. John Barley Kahn became my master. It told me exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and it was John Paul Kahn was my great advocate. It talked to me when nothing else didn't talk to me. So I'm just grateful that I kept coming back, and I thank God that I found this meeting, and we're going through the big book, because today I know I have conceded to my innermost self that I am powerless over alcohol. So I'll keep it back. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So glad to have you here with us. Xavier, come on in.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Xavier Alcoholic. So glad to be here. The holidays takes out a lot of alcoholics. I'm no exception. So I'm glad. I always try to get extra meetings, do a little extra in the holidays. The isms start to come back, being around family. And sometimes I feel a lot of stress, or I can always, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I always enjoy when it's January and the holidays are over, because a lot of that stress goes away. I got sober through another holiday, because it wasn't that long ago I was drinking through the holidays, and it was horrible. It's if I go to the intellectual part for a second, and then the heart part. The intellectual part, I had a sponsor that taught me that it's there's two tests that the Big Book gives you, and I used to call it the two C's: the loss of choice and the loss of control. And I think it's on page 32 or something. It's one of the tests is the loss of control. So it says do you control drinking if you don't think you're an alcoholic? And I always thought that was really a great suggestion. That I went through stages, and I'm no exception, just like the Big Book talks about, where I wanted to see if I was really an alcoholic. And I went into that stage way too many times. I lost count. Maybe I'm not an alcoholic this time. So it's that pain and suffering. Pain's a really good motivator. And then later, later in the book, it gives the test for the whether I have choice or not. That's another part. And with that said, I love chapters 2 and 3, because it really hits home step 1 for me. And it's interesting because the last part I want to intellectualize, and then I get to the heart. Between the doctor's opinion, the first 43 pages are just on step 1, and it's important for me to know that inside my heart what that means, and really accept, as was noted, to my innermost self. Okay, so here's the second part. I didn't realize when I used to relapse all the time, I'd be why did I relapse? And maybe I didn't want it as bad as I should, or maybe I wasn't willing to admit it. But what I didn't realize is when I finally got step 1 down, it didn't keep me sober, 0.0. And that really confused me, because it seemed like a lot of people in the rooms, that was enough to keep them sober. They would realize they were an alcoholic, and they would go to meetings, and they were able to stay sober, and they got years of sobriety. And it wasn't until I got in the book that I'm oh, wait a minute. I also have this thing called an obsession. And it talks about that later in the book, where it goes into more detail, where I actually have the loss of choice. That's something I can see. No matter what I'm going to drink, literally no matter what. If I told you I won't drink, I'll pass the lie detector test. But eventually I'm going to drink anyway. It doesn't matter what I say or what I do. So I was taught my obsession trumps my willpower. It's stronger than my willpower. It just is. And sooner or later I'm going to give in. And then I realized, and this was my aha moment, the whole point of AA is not so much to not drink, it's to do these actions on a daily basis. And when I do these actions, I have a spiritual connection. And as a side effect, I don't have to drink one day at a time. So that's the side effect, and that's the prize. I don't have to drink one day at a time, and I get to be like a worker among workers. I get to be a father, I get to be a husband, I get to do all these things in the world, and that's the prize of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm so grateful for it. And step one won't keep me sober, but it's like baking a cake. It's like an ingredient that I need to bake the cake, but it's not the cake itself. But it's necessary for me to do the other steps. Because if I don't have step one, it doesn't matter if I do the other steps, I'll still drink as well. So it's interesting, but it took me many years to reach those conclusions. And I had to learn the very painful way. So I'm really grateful for this program. It's important, step one, for me to go backwards, to play the tape through, so I can always really remind myself that I truly am an alcoholic. I am one of you. And when I read the big book, like, it tells my story. And then as a side effect, the last thing is the intellect. In the 12 by 12, it talks to the end of step one about why we have to like hit a bottom and all that, and essentially for me realize I'm an alcoholic, so I'm willing to do the other 11 steps to the best of my ability. Otherwise, what's the point? It's a lot of work, a lot of stuff. Why would I do service, unity, and recovery? Like, why would I do service and sponsor guys and have a sponsor and share meetings and do all that? Why would I do unity and have a weed program? And why would I do the recovery, which is the steps out of the big book? So the reason I do that is because of step one, and that gives me the willingness to do everything else that I got. And sir, let me share.
Thanks, Xavier. Good to have you here. Terry, come on in. Hi, Pickle Chips.
Hi, everybody. I'm Terry, recovered pickle chip alcoholic. I was able also to quit when I was pregnant both times, but boy, let me tell you, the minute that baby popped out, I had a beer in my hand. So I don't know if that counts or not, but you know, my last 16 years of drinking, I was a daily drinker. And I did not, I missed one day. And that's because they called it back then a nervous breakdown. So I was in the hospital on a Valium drip. So I guess that counts. But I couldn't, you know. So therefore, you know, it lasted for way too long. But every day I would drive home. I'd get to the signal by my house. Well, before I got to the signal, every day I'd tell myself, for maybe the last 5 years, I'm not going to have a drink today. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. My mantra all the way home. And then I'd hit that signal, which was always red. And I would start feeling my jaw getting tight. And, you know, the saliva in my mouth forming. And I'd walk into the house and go straight to the refrigerator and get a beer. You know, not getting the mail or going to the bathroom or doing anything. It was just one more day, and I'd go, okay, well, I'll do it tomorrow. And then it would start that vicious cycle for so many years. And I had to go through a process, you know, of to get to the point where I reached out to a higher power and went to a meeting and never had to drink again. But I tell you, one of the reasons why is I never, ever, ever wanted to go back to that not being able to control my drinking. It was frightening. My ex-husband would be able to quit for just to show me that he could quit for a couple weeks at a time, and he'd challenged me to do it, and I couldn't even do a day. So I don't ever want to be in that spot again. It was treacherously horrible, because I would get that chemical change the minute it hit my brain, and I would start raging and yelling and fuming, and oh, it was just awful. But I wanted to share too is I don't live in that town anymore, but I have some friends there, and uh, some things that I do in town, and whenever I get stuck at that signal, I have that phenomenon where my jaw gets tight. I start salivating, and I just have to laugh. For years I avoided going that way, but it's just something in my brain that's kind of stuck there. I don't pick up a drink, that's for sure, but I could just laugh at it today. And so grateful that I don't have to live my life that way anymore, because it was just horrible. And not that's something I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but I wanted to welcome everybody that's new to our meeting. We love having you, and would love to hear your stories too. So thanks everybody for being here and letting me share.
Thanks, Terry. Who's next? Donald?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Santa Pickle tonight. And I'm a very grateful, recovered, but not cured alcoholic named Donald. And that is what my real problem is. This tells a lot of my story whenever I was young. I didn't think that I was an alcoholic. But yet, I was having fun with it. It hadn't got to the point where it was a problem, per se. Well, of course it did, but did I see it as a problem? No. But I was having too much fun. I didn't want the party to stop. And, I thought I could drink or stop at any time. Because, I actually did for a while. 3 years or so. And then picked had one or two and stuff, over that time. But I didn't drink alcoholically. I didn't drink as a habit. I never had it at home. If I did, it stayed there for months and months at that time. But eventually, I got over a relationship and went back to the bar because, hey, I was lonely. The only place I knew where to pick up, women or even have a relationship with the woman was in a bar. So that's where I went. And so, I started drinking every night because, I got a job in a bar where I could drink every night at work and, be in front of all the women and, as a DJ. Hey, get in the candy store. Why would I want to quit? Well, it was just feeding the fuel stuff, and until the time, I did want to quit, and I couldn't. But, I'm going to go on to that second paragraph that was read, to be gravely affected. One does not necessarily have to drink for a long period of time, nor take the quantities like some of us have to become an alcoholic. Oh my gosh, you could have 2 or 3 beers, and it's like, oh yeah, that's the stuff. Now I know what, and then it's on for some people. I think that's basically what it was like for me whenever I went back to the bar, after that relationship. But the funny thing is after that sentence that I just read, how sexist they were in what they said. This is particularly true of women. No, it's not particularly true. It's particularly true of any alcoholic. And, something that, if you really think about it and stuff, this is rewrote. This is particularly true of alcoholics. Potential alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years. We just read a story on a person that happened to. So why was it particularly true for a woman? But times have changed in the way we look at women these days. Whenever I was in a relationship with a young lady and stuff, I always wanted her to be my equal. I never wanted to be above, nor did I ever want to be, below. I just wanted someone to be there with me, be my friend. And, I was insulted whenever I said I couldn't drink, or I couldn't quit. Because it was impossible for me to face the truth. So, that's about all I've got for you, and I'm going to save the ringer. So, God bless you guys.
Thanks, Donald. We got no hands, so I'm going to come in. I'm Trish, and I'm an alcoholic, and where is my timer? There it is. I was one of those who got insulted if you called me an alcoholic. I knew I was. I could admit it. I could tell myself. I could tell you. But you better not tell me, because then I'm going to argue. I'm going to argue with it. Because how dare you? And then comes that next couple sentences later. If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for a year. I would put liquor down a lot. I was a binge drinker. I was not a daily drinker. And because of that, I convinced myself I don't drink every day. I'm not an alcoholic. I can't be an alcoholic because I don't drink every day. Cause and effect. It made a whole lot of sense to me. But I wasn't looking at the fact that just because I put it down, I still kept picking it back up. I would put it down, and then it was just a matter of time. And I knew it was just a matter of time before I was going to pick it back up again. And when I had somebody say, try to go 4 weeks without drinking. Episode in my life, something going on, try to go 4 weeks without drinking. And I did it. And I was able to go back and say, see, I'm not an alcoholic. And she's like, yeah, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. That was just to see if you could. Doesn't mean you're not. But those 4 weeks were awful. Because all around me, everybody was, and that's what I kept obsessing on. And, even though I wasn't drinking and I saw that as I'm not drinking, therefore I'm not an alcoholic, I didn't recognize that I'm obsessing over every single person around me who is drinking. I want yours, and I want yours, and I want yours, and I want everybody else's. Which leading to some will be drunk the day after them making their resolutions, most of them within a few weeks. I could go a couple of weeks. Anytime their words challenged, my words dared. You dare me not to drink, I'm not going to, just to prove you wrong. But the minute that time frame is up, I'm back at the races again. And the question did come down to, did I really want to stop? Did I really see that there was a problem going on, and that even though I could put it down, I could not stay with it down, and I could not put it down and walk away forever? I tried. But then it says a little further on, whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose. I could not stop drinking without that spiritual basis, without that spiritual connection. I had to have the higher power that I found in these rooms in order for me to put down that alcohol and to stay away from that alcohol. And it wasn't easy. I was not a Bill Wilson had that flash of light who said, and I'm never going to touch it again. I was more like Dr. Bob, who had that obsession for months. Years, maybe. I don't know. I never tracked it, but I know it was a really long time that I kept obsessing over. Everybody else was. Why can't I? But as I got into that spiritual basis for quitting, not the non-spiritual basis, once I got to that spiritual basis and that spiritual reliance and having that spirituality in my life, I was more able to put it down, leave it down, and walk away without thinking about it anymore. It wasn't so impossible anymore. So, yeah, what sort of thinking dominates the alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? Because I was always taking that first drink again. I was always putting it down. I was always picking it back up, and I could never understand why I kept picking it up. Because every time I put it down, I'm not doing this again. Never doing this again. I don't want to have to go through this again, but it always came back. Or I always came back to it. And it was the first sentence that Lisa read on page 30 in that paragraph. Most of us have been unwilling to admit that we were real alcoholics. I could admit I was an alcoholic. I could not accept it until I walked into these rooms and found a spiritual way of life. Thank you. And Frank, come on in. Good to see you.
All right, thank you. It's good to be here. And good to see everyone. I am Frank. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. I really felt the reading and some of the questions and answers through a few different areas of my recovery right now, and I'm just so thankful for that. One of the areas that spoke to me is love, self-love, actually. And, it brought me back to a place many years ago. And I had a relationship with this woman who, ongoing long-term, and when we would spend time together, I'd tell her that I loved her. And, she would always think about it, and her response was to me, no, you don't love me. You can't. You don't love yourself. You like me. And, it came from a place of love and comfort and care. So it registered with me and it stuck with me for decades. And, in my, recovery, I have really focused a lot of time on my spirituality. And, it's not just a feeling. It's really, to me, it's a stewardship of my own life. And, protecting my energy and honoring my, boundaries, and really, feeding my spirit, really. And my clarity now, I'm coming up on 2 years. This is a time in my life where I've put in day in and day out, all day, focus on my own improvement and recovery and how I can become a better version of myself. And it's a part that, you know, I really don't negotiate with myself. It's always a top priority. And I feel like I have a ways to go, but I know that I'm getting closer and closer with each day. And, you know, for example, for me, you know, especially, you know, I was, you know, back in my highly active days, I was a sort of a, it was a control person, right? I really thought that controlling situations and others would, it brought me satisfaction, and it brought me back to the bottle every time. As long as I could do that, and I could, you know, continue to live in this mask that I created, I would be able to continue to go back to the bottle, you know, with satisfaction, with confidence, and no regret. And, you know, those were the days when I really didn't love myself. I thought I did, and, you know, I did things for myself, and I did. I love myself to a certain level, but I wasn't taking care of myself, and I wasn't prioritizing. And so, you know, that really spoke to me through the reading. And then, you know, I've had that on my mind, and, you know, coming through the holidays here into the new year, and, you know, thinking just about, you know, how important it is to have loved ones close to you, and be a part of a group, and the fellowship and the program. You know, it's really truly an amazing blessing and a gift and a privilege. So I'll leave it with that. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Frank. We've still got time for one or two more.
I'll go.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Lisa Seashell Pickle. I like this comment. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. Yeah, after a few years, I could admit it. I didn't accept it. I was always look at, you know, the countless vain attempts to prove I could drink like other people, like another person. The idea that somehow I'll be able to control my drinking. And yeah, the great obsession, the persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Yeah, I was such in denial. I mean, you're talking about the different methods. I think I did them all, you know, the times, different times I changed, the times I drank, the days. I just tried everything. It's kind of embarrassing, the amount of the years that I was just the big lie, you know, excuses, manipulation, you know, looking at someone else's drinking so I didn't have to look at mine, you know. I don't drink like that. Yeah, it's those but I like this one too, but try and get them to see it. Oh yeah, I was blind. The walls were up, and yeah. And you know what I was thinking of? I don't know where it is in the book, but like putting your hand on a hot stove and expecting not to get burnt again. I mean, if I did that as many times as I picked up booze again, I'd be locked up somewhere. But that's, you know, the disease is centered in my mind. Because what else? I mean, how many times I picked that up and could not stop, you know, and my life's getting all screwed up, and I mean, upteen times for upteen years. You know, and the very few times, and I mean few, that I did stop, and it was because of circumstances that I had to. You know, I held on to that. I didn't look at the thousands upon thousands of other times. No, I didn't look at that. My disease latched onto those couple times. And also, you know, in the beginning, I think Donald was talking about it. You know, I had a lot of fun with it, and in my early 20s, you know, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to have some fun. It wasn't fun. After a certain amount of time, it just wasn't fun. I got angry, you know. Things started happening, you know, a couple DUIs, losses of things and people, and but yeah, you know, that's what I thought of, you know, reading about, you know, the illusion, you know, getting burned on the hot stove. How many times would I do that? I wouldn't do it more than once, you know, and it's just the insanity, and that's exactly what it is. It's just insane. It's insanity. And that disease, powerful, baffling, you know, and thank God for, you know, this book. And, you know, when I read in this book, and I say it all the time, you know, I'm finding myself in it. I feel like that. I did that. I did all those things. I tried all those methods. And, yeah, and, you know, so many people, you know, aren't willing, or don't come in and go back out, don't get it, and it's just so sad. Scary stuff. You know, I never saw it like this, because I never, you know, went to these types of meetings. And, you know, learning about my disease now, and yeah, I'm very, very grateful. And, you know, I like how Xavier explained it. It was really good. It was a good share. Everybody's a great share. And I want to thank everybody for coming. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. And I do want to take just a moment before we close out. We have a friend of ours who came in just past the anniversary time, who is picking up a chip tonight. So, Kenny, here you go. Where'd you go? There you are. Okay. Congratulations, Kenny. 7 years is a huge thing.
Congratulations.
Happy birthday, Kenny.
Congratulations, Kenny. Congratulations.
Happy anniversary.
You made it through the 7-year itch.
Where are you, Kenny? I can't see you.
He's quiet, but he's
You
there.
can see me?
No, you got your thing turned off. Let's see. Did you turn your thing on?
He's
There
on.
you are.
You had something there in front of it. So we can see you now, Kenny.
Yay, congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Lisa, why don't you read our closing?
Righty. From page 164, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come. If your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you. And we will go ahead and close out in our normal fashion. For those of you who are new with us, what we do, since we can't hold hands around the table and pray out like we do in an in-person meeting, is we hold our hands up in the screen, and that's how we connect while we're praying. We pray with and for each other in this room a whole lot. And we'll take a moment of silence for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, especially those who may die tonight because they either didn't find their way to us, or they came and they weren't ready, much like we talked about today. They weren't ready to put it down. So we'll take that moment of silence. We'll follow that with the Lord's Prayer. So here's your moment. Thank you. And who brings us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father,
Father,
who art
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us
Give us this day our daily bread,
and
forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And lead
And
us
lead
not
us not into
lead us not into
temptation,
temptation,
but deliver us from
thy
evil.
kingdom and
For
the
thine is
power
the
and the
kingdom
glory
and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thanks,
Coming back,
everybody.
it works.
Coming back, it works, absolutely.
Yes,
It really
coming back.
Have
does.
to work
It
it.
really does.
Everyone have a good
Yeah.
Thanks
All
for
right.
coming,
Y'all have a
everybody.
good night.
Good night,
Night.
Jacqueline.
What'd you